Welcome everybody to another episode of Mondays with Mundy, and that's me, Jim Mundy, the historian for the Union League Legacy Foundation. And as you can tell, we're back outdoors. This time we're at Liberty Hill in Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania, on the outskirts of Philadelphia. So we've already done 2 episodes at the other 2 country clubs / golf courses, Torresdale and National, and today is the 3rd and final installment of our golf courses. So, Liberty Hill. It's not every city club can say that it owns a country club that's situated on what was a Revolutionary War battlefield. And I'm not sure battlefield is the appropriate term, but nonetheless, on May 20th of 1778, there was the Battle of Barren Hill, because that's what we're standing on right now, believe it or not. And I know we can't pan around, but we are at the highest elevation in this part of Montgomery County, and it's pretty breathtaking. But pretend you're the Marquis de Lafayette, and you have 3,000 American soldiers trying to do a reconnaissance to see what the British are up to, because the British right now are stationed in Philadelphia. They've been there since September of 1777. Washington and the Colonial Army are at Valley Forge, just a few miles west of here. Washington knows that the Brits are going to move from Philadelphia to New York, but he wants to know when, and are there reconnaissance going on? Are they foraging for food? And so he sends 3,000 American troops with the Marquis to investigate. They come from Valley Forge, they come over Matson's Ford in what is today Conshohocken, and they situate themselves here on top of Barren Hill, just off of the Ridge Road as it was called back then. And further north of that is the Germantown Pike, just to give you some geographical landmarks, if you will. So the British in the meantime know that the Marquis has moved over into this neck of the woods, and they're going to send 15,000 British soldiers to intercept the Americans and hopefully defeat them in a battle. Washington suggested Lafayette that he not engage in a battle, but Lafayette, who had this penchant for getting in the way of danger, decided to get in danger himself. So there was a minor skirmish on May the 20th of 1778. The Marquis, realizing that 3,000 soldiers versus 15,000 soldiers, and keep in mind that the British are coming in from 3 different directions in a pincer movement to surround the Americans. The Marquis, in his early 20s, realizes that, you can run away and live to fight another day, and that's exactly what they did. So the Battle of Barren Hill was in its own way more of a skedaddle, a skirmish, than an actual battle itself, but nonetheless, though, it all ended well. So, what happens next? All right, we're going to fast forward to the 1870s when Philadelphian Henry Houston, William was his son. So Henry Houston, who was on the board of directors of the Pennsylvania Railroad, which will soon become the world's largest corporation, who was developing Chestnut Hill, buys 300 acres on top of Barren Hill. But basically lets it out as yeoman farmland and things like that. And he will own it, and he will die in 1892. The family trust will own it until 1925, when it sells this land, 311 acres, to a group of people interested in creating what would become the Roxborough Country Club. And unfortunately, that's about all we know, because there's nothing to be found on the Roxborough Country Club except for an aerial map taken in 1939, and that's about it, unfortunately. But we do know that in 1945, John Demand, the president and CEO of the Insurance Company of North America, and a man who came from, I think, relative poverty. I mean, he knew what it was like to grow up in a house with the tin roof in a hot summer day in Philadelphia. Not a lot of food and not a lot of work. The man has now become the CEO of this monstrous insurance company based in Philadelphia, and he wants to buy this property and turn it into a country club for INA employees, so that they understand what it's like to have fresh air and recreation and enjoyment and fun and things like that. And so that's what he does. And it worked very well. So well, in fact, that in 1980, INA will now reconfigure this whole property and turn it into a conference center and upscale golf course. And so the club hires Reese Jones, the son of Robert Trent Jones Jr., one of the great golf course family, if you will, the architectural family. And Reese Jones will re-envision Roxborough Country Club in 1982 and 1983, opens in 83. In the meantime, INA hires an architect, Edward Durrell Stone, to build a new conference center and golf clubhouse. And Edward Stone was no architectural slouch. To put him in his own position, he designed the Rockefeller Center, New York City Radio Hall. He did the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. So here's a man who knows how to build big buildings, and architecturally significant ones at the same time. And so this is the work of his firm, which was coming out of New York. So all is well and good for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, INA merges with the Connecticut Insurance General Company. They become Cigna. Cigna owns the property. And then at the end of the 20th century, Cigna is bought out by ACE. And ACE was an international insurer. They did insurance, reinsurance, property risk management, all that kind of big stuff that international insurance companies do. And they would then get bought out by Chubb, which was an American-based company. Now, at that point, though, ACE will keep naming rights to the golf course, and then Chubb will take the naming rights to the conference center because they didn't want to name the golf course the Chubb Club. I think we can all understand why. So that explains why we had the two names up until December of 2021, when the Union League signs a letter of intent to buy the entire property. And then in February of 2022, League President Craig Mills and General Manager Jeff McFadden via videotape announced the purchase of this property from Chubb/ACE. And that's how we got to be here. A long way to go from a skedaddle in 1778 to 2022. But that's where we are today. It's still 311 beautiful acres. The view is still astounding. It was a turnkey operation. Nothing really had to be done to tweak the course. There is, however, work going on in both the golf clubhouse and the lodge, which is in front of me and behind you on the camera. Because the Union League is an institution founded during the American Civil War, the golf clubhouse has a Civil War theme, and the lodge will maintain a Revolutionary War theme. So when you come up here, you'll notice that the artwork in each respective buildings will reflect those different time periods. Now, what's going on? Golf clubhouse, restaurant called Gray's, indoor and outdoor dining, good stuff, and it's just what you expect from a golf clubhouse. But the lodge, which encompasses the entire building up here at the top of the summit, also has a part called the Summit, which is their conferencing operation inside the lodge itself. Now, in terms of food and beverage, we've recently opened a new dining room called the Marquis by Denny Santiago, and Denny was an apprentice, if you will, to the League's executive chef, Martin Hammond. They're both alums of course, the Four Seasons. And I think Chef Martin really mentored Denny. Now, Denny has his own restaurant up here. And it looks beautiful on the inside. I heard the food spectacular, which is nothing less than what we would expect from Denny Santiago and any of the chefs at the Union League itself. The facility itself has, 120 sleeping rooms, about 30 conference rooms. They're building a new business center, large-scale business center called The Gather. That will be there. And then long-term, maybe in the next 5 years, we're going to see a new fitness and aquatics center, because when INA first bought their property, when Durrell Stone built this whole building, there was a swimming pool involved, but that was later removed and replaced by a ballroom. The ballroom will now be replaced or be turned back into an aquatic center with a fitness center attached to it as well. So that's the kind of fun stuff that's going on up here at the top of Barren Hill in 2022. So I hope that all made sense, but it's a wonderful place. And also one of the reasons that this was such a strategic purchase, if you will, is that because the League discovered that, 75% of Union League member families live within a 30-minute ride of here. So just like the strategy that was used to acquire the Shore properties and, of course, Torresdale, applied up here just as well itself. The golf course is spectacular. It was redone by Gary Player in 2002. It's 7,500 yards from the tips. That's what pros play. Because I think they were hoping maybe that the PGA would come back here, because between 1983 and 1989, the Philadelphia section of the PGA did have their championships here when this was still the Reese Jones course. But now that's the Gary Player course, so maybe something like that will come back after all. We'll see what happens. But nonetheless, if you like golf, it's a wonderful golf course, and it's not as hard as you think. But anyway, having said that, if I can shoot in the 80s, anybody can as well. So anyway, I think that's enough. So I thank you once again for watching another episode of Mondays with Mundy. Hope you've enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next episode in 2 weeks. And in between, everybody, sunshine is coming, so stay well, get outdoors, and have fun. Goodbye now.